I hope you had a lovely weekend, and that you're enjoying the last day of May. It's hard to believe we're already June 1st tomorrow, but we're going to go ahead and dive right in. We're excited to have a very special guest with us today, and we want to allow for enough time for questions and conversation. And so for many of you, programs, we're in a time of transition. So transitioning into summer programming mode, and though we're transitioning out of the pandemic, programs continue to face challenges with ongoing concerns and uncertainty. So, and with these concerns and transitions comes conversations regarding programmatic financial sustainability. And that's what brings us here today. So we're excited to have a special guest helping us facilitate this conversation regarding financial tools, resources, and that's Koa Mirai. And she is from Propel Nonprofits. Koa is a senior loan officer and financial specialist from Propel Nonprofits, and Propel is working hard to really uplift and provide support for organizations around the state of Minnesota. So we're excited to formally introduce you to her here in a bit. So what brings us to this space today? So in the chat, I'd invite you to share one word that comes to mind when you think about financial sustainability. So this could be a feeling, maybe it's confusion, fear. This could be a tool. So for some, it might be QuickBooks or a spreadsheet. It could also be an opportunity or a lack thereof. There's no right or wrong answers. I just want to see what comes to mind for folks. Stress, yes. Maybe some confusion. For me, I'm not a financial expert too, so a lot of learning, curiosity, complications, absolutely, Marie. It gets tricky, right? So kind of, keep sharing if you'd like, and kind of just keep thinking about this as we're talking about this today. And in the past, I think financial sustainability has looked a lot of different ways, and the past 2 years have really highlighted a lot of maybe holes or gaps or inequities. And so along with, different thoughts that you're sharing in the chat, this past year, Mentor completed a mentoring in a time of social distancing survey to capture data on where programs were at. And though we are, as I mentioned right away, we're transitioning out of the pandemic, the ripples of impact remain, right? And as Marie shared, it's complicated in many times. So these were some of the results that came from it. And these were the data that came in across the United States, including Minnesota. But some common challenges for organizations were fundraising and operations. 21%, so almost a quarter of programs, said that funders indicated they will be decreasing their level of support. 30% of programs have had previous financial commitments rescinded due to COVID-19 impacts and those ripples. And programs requested additional resources and solutions that would be helpful to them regarding financial guidance and funding support. And that includes our programs here in Minnesota. Our Program Services Council came to us, and one of the top things that they wanted more resources and more support on was what we're going to be talking about today, and that's financial sustainability supports, resources, and tools. So I just kind of wanted to ground us in that with a little data, and I'll be sure to share out that entire survey for folks if you wanted to check it out a little bit further. But our map of our journey together here over this lunch hour, first I wanted to mention that again, I appreciate each of you. We see you, we value your voices and your time in building networks, so really lean into this conversation. This is a safe space to ask questions, be curious, because it's important that we're having these and knowing that mentorship changes outcomes. So we all need to be at this table of support, compassion, and love in everything we do. So that includes these lunch and learn events. And even if they're small or if they're a really large event, I think, we can really create spaces to share knowledge, ways to uplift and collaborate and partnership, and passing the mic to one another and providing ways to build strong and vibrant communities. So again, thank you all for being here. So we're going to start from a good place, and that's with introductions, and briefly introduce ourselves and Mentor Minnesota team, and also talk a little bit about some grounding foundational knowledge when it comes to financial tools from Mentor. And then we're going to hear from our special guest, Koa, provide you some space for questions and answer and conversation, and then share out some resources. So in the chat, I know a couple of folks have shared, but again, maybe we're just getting warmed up. Maybe you're getting a couple of bites of your lunch, hopefully, but we'd love to have you share your name and pronouns in the chat, along with your organization, agency, and program. And tomorrow's June 1st. So would love to know, what is your favorite summertime treat? Now, this could be an activity. This could be something that you only get to enjoy in the summertime, whatever it might be. But what is your favorite summertime treat? And with that, and as we kind of learn a little bit more about you, I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic over to Sarah and Allie, my teammates that are here joining us today, to introduce themselves.
Hello everyone, I'm Allie Ervig, she, her, and I'm the Marketing and Development Manager at Mentor Minnesota. My favorite summer treat is probably any kind of ice cream, but I'll go with mint for today. How about you, Sarah?
Hi everybody, I'm Sarah Schaefer, she, her. I'm the Executive Director at Mentor Minnesota, and I made this yesterday and I love it a whole lot. And it's a big old batch of sun tea, which is just iced tea you put out in the sun to steep. It feels so lovely. I'm excited to hear what you all love as treats. I see golf. Hey, Chippewa Falls. Hi, Lisa. Awesome.
And I'm Emily Garai. I'm the program director, she, her, here at Mentor Minnesota. And my favorite summertime treat is enjoying, we have a place called What's the Scoop, and it actually just made the top 55 things to do in Minnesota. So if you haven't checked out the ice cream shop, What's the Scoop, there's one in St. Michael, and there's also one in Buffalo. I highly recommend it. And then anything water. Ooh, yummy. I see strawberry salsa. I get distracted the second I see good food coming up, and ice cream. Awesome. Thanks, Nathan. But yeah, another treat for me is swimming, or doing anything in the water. Yeah, it's wonderful. How about you, Koa? If you want to share what you enjoy in the summertime.
Yeah, summer is so exciting. I do like to be out. I have an inflatable kayak that I get to take places easily, and so I like to be out exploring different lakes in the summertime. And to stick with the ice cream, I also really like the ice cream at La Michoacana here on Lake Street, so that is one of my favorite places to treat myself.
That's awesome. And I think, honestly, if you live in Minnesota, or if you're from here, we enjoy ice cream all the time, but there's something special about having ice cream in the summer. I think it just tastes a little bit sweeter, or I'm not sure what it is. It could just be that it's warmer outside, but hopefully you can all find a little time to enjoy your favorite treat, whether that's golf, strawberry salsa, ice cream, sorbet. And again, just remember to find ways to fill up your own bucket, and remember the importance of self-care. And really the only housekeeping thing before we move on would just be to walk softly in this space. So that's just speaking respectfully to everyone here, including yourself. Be kind to yourself. If you need to leave your camera off, that's totally fine, but we hope that you still engage in asking questions and engage and lean into the conversation. And that's our lovely picture. I'll buzz through that. A little bit more about Mentor Minnesota. These are our pillars. They are really what ground us in this work. And our vision, our dream as an organization is that all youth have agency and power at home, school, in their community, and in the workplace. And so that means that we want to support you, the adults. We believe in holistic youth development and that we elevate quality, connecting people to each other like we are here today. It's always my favorite part, and working hard to expand the movement of mentorship through the power of influencing systems and the power of building relationships through the whole state of Minnesota and beyond. And also Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin too. I know you're in the room. All right, and so these are our buckets of work a little bit. So how do we do, strive after achieving our mission? And that's by providing quality training opportunities and leveraging evidence-based research and promoting best practices and mentoring through the sharing of our resources and toolkits. And some of the materials that we'll be sharing out today. We also provide opportunities to learn and lead together, and that's through workshops, cohort learning opportunities. Also wanted to mention that we're a technical assistance provider through the National Mentoring Resource Center. So if you're interested in learning more about any technical assistance questions and how you can receive technical assistance at no cost to your program, please reach out to me. I'll go ahead and just pop my information in the chat too, and if you wanted to just make a note of that, but you're welcome to reach out to me at any time. So again, bringing us back to talking about program financial tools. So really what's bringing us to this space, and that's answering what is financial stability? What does that look like? What does that mean? And leaning into that. And that's also why we brought in Koa from Propel Nonprofits. Really, we see them as local champions of support. Propel does a wonderful job of uplifting and talking and supporting finance, governance, and strategic planning for nonprofits throughout Minnesota. We also want to talk about some trends and challenges nonprofits are facing right now, and then talk about ways that we can uplift and support these trends and challenges with some additional supports for financial stability. And then again, provide you with additional resources and tools that you can take and have them on the ground for you as you move forward in your program. And so why does this matter? Sustainability is about ensuring your program is stable over time, right? You want to have a strong foundation. And so many factors can really affect a program's sustainability. One, being able to provide high quality services that adhere to your policies and procedures, and being able to lean back on those policies and procedures, as well as the elements of effective practice for mentoring. So those are the 6 elements, such as recruitment, screening, training, matching, all of those things that go into a mentoring program. And why I put a big arrow here too, right in the center of this is having the flexibility to withstand unexpected challenges. Again, nothing highlighted that more than the past couple of years, and having to quickly transition. And then I think a lot of programs really got a good look at where they are financially and where they're going to be able to sustain themselves if programming had to suddenly shift. Another piece of this is securing a variety of funding sources. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And then also improving the program continuously. So this ongoing innovation and improvement. Developing and retaining a high quality staff. It's also really important to have a strong team that we can both lean into and help support us in our work, and implementing a program evaluation and learning from those results. And again, these are all taken from the EEP that you see down in the corner there. There's a little picture. We're always talking about it, and it's a really one of our cornerstones of resources that we provide and stand on. And again, I'll be sharing that out with folks at the end. I'll also share this in the chat if you wanted to bookmark it as well. So a little bit of thoughtful considerations as we're talking about this. And we put it in a circle really because the planning and talking about this starts early and it's continuous, I think, and bringing us all the way around to hearing more from COA. But, you know, starting your planning early and leaning into being curious and understanding that maybe we all aren't experts in everything, but who can we pull to the table? What stakeholders, what community members can we pull in to start planning early? And then develop a formal fundraising plan. Also the consideration of having multiple funding sources such as cash donations, maybe fundraising events, corporate or business partners, and then leveraging the support of the board of directors and having that support system in place. And for some programs that are really small, maybe it is considering joining a larger umbrella organization rather than trying to do it alone. Again, the focus really being here on sustainability and how can we do that that ensures safety and quality for our young people and quality and safety for programming. And then also at the top then too, utilizing supportive organizations within the community to uplift and provide financial guidance and opportunities. Hence, bringing in Propel Nonprofits today. Again, I'm gonna go ahead and just say a really brief introduction about Propel, but excited as we're so lucky to be joined today by someone who's really, really busy. And I must say a little bit hard to get on the calendar, but if you can, I highly recommend leaning into anything that Propel offers. They have a ton of different opportunities for training and resources and support. And so really being able to lean into that. And again, Propel's guiding principle is really, you know, they look at every organization as having value. And I think that's something that I really just wanted to highlight here is that no matter how big or small, they're willing to invest in you with their time and supports. I also wanted to just mention that one more reason to partner with Propel was their dedication to strong community. And I think, you know, having a diverse network of mission-driven nonprofits build a healthy and vibrant and more just community is something that, that we all want to do a better job about. So with that, I want to introduce COA. Mirai she's a senior loan officer and financial specialist at Propel. COA is a cultural anthropologist turned lender and financial specialist. So as a researcher, educator, and nonprofit consultant, COA has worked closely with folks directing social change in diverse contexts. COA is committed to tackling structural inequalities and believes in a redistribution of capital and financial knowledge toward that end. COA values relationships and believes truly generative insights come out of attentiveness, curiosity, and a deep personal engagement. So please help me welcome COA.
Thank you, Emily. That was such a wonderful, introduction, and also just a wonderful framing of our time together. I really appreciated how you set everything up, and I just really like your energy in general. So this is really a treat and an honor to be here with Mentor Minnesota and with all of you wonderful nonprofits doing the work. So I will do a couple of things. Just as Emily, you were getting ready to introduce me, and I had to go and shut my window because the garbage truck is right outside here. And so hopefully that's not too distracting or anything. Okay, I'm going to share my screen here.
Oh, you're good.
Awesome. Okay, so As I mentioned, I'm just really, really happy to be able to join you all for this time together on this topic of financial sustainability for nonprofits. Many of us, Emily did a little bit of an introduction about me. Many of us come to nonprofit work without a background in finance, and it can be pretty overwhelming, right? To find the right tools, take everything in, figure out the big picture, but also like manage all the everyday stuff. So really my goal is to share some ideas and resources with you. Hopefully that'll spark some conversation, and it'll be nice to learn a little bit about what's feeling most important to you all when you think about financial sustainability at your organization. So thanks for sharing in the chat. I really appreciate being able to be here with you this afternoon. And just a little bit quickly about me to add on to what Emily just said. My name is Mirai. I use she and they pronouns. And I've been in my role here as a lender and a financial specialist at Propel for this July will be 4 years. So my background too, really, I did not have any formal training in banking, finance. The last time I studied math was in high school. My studies were in literature, in journalism, in cultural studies, and cultural anthropology. So for over a decade, I taught undergrads and I did research at the U of M here in the Twin Cities in anthropology, global studies. And so really very, very little to do with finance or numbers. So I like to tell everybody that I talk to, if I can do it, then so can you. And at Propel, we really believe that investing in deepening your understanding of finance is connected up with your passion for the mission that you're working towards. It's really in service of the connection between money and mission is very deep. So that's why we're so driven by numbers, and we try to make it fun and approachable for our clients. So hopefully some of this will feel like that for you, but also do put in your questions or comments in the chat, and we'll try to get to them at the end. Or if I'm going too fast and you didn't catch what I said, I'm muttering, please just unmute and tell me to repeat myself. So Emily also already did a really cool job, actually, quite in depth with the theory of change and everything, kind of a big picture of what Propel is. But for folks, if you're not familiar with Propel, let me put the link. Oh, thank you. We are a nonprofit, and our mission is to support and fuel the mission of other nonprofits. And we do that by offering guidance and expertise and capital. And really our areas of specialization are finance, governance, and strategy. So what we don't do really is fundraising. We don't have any expertise in legal stuff to do with nonprofits, but we have resources. If you reach out to me, I'll put my email in as well in the chat box when I get a second here. But feel free to reach out at any point if you have questions and or just need support of any kind. So kind of like Mentor Minnesota, where we have a similar kind of philosophy and approach. I found out when talking to Emily that we're in actually the same building, and I didn't know about Mentor Minnesota. So I'm really, really excited to be here with you all and support your mission. So very quickly about our Propel is also what's called a Community Development Financial Institution, or a CDFI. This is a federal government designation, and it's given to lending institutions that primarily serve low-income and historically underserved communities. So I like to say that we make all types of loans that banks can, but we're just more fun to work with. And but more seriously, we're regulated a little bit differently than banks. So we also really just understand that nonprofit finance is unique. And so we're able to customize our loans for our clients. We're able to suit their needs better. We're able to provide them with TA, kind of like what Mentor Minnesota also offers, technical assistance. If you're having issues of any kind, we also offer what we call patient capital, and we don't require the same kind of collateral that banks will often require. So we are also more fun, I will add. So and then also we have a training department. I'm just trying to deep dive into Propel, but please go check out our website if you're not familiar with us already. But we do a lot of trainings with nonprofits on a variety of topics related to finance. But mostly the trainings I do have to do with finance, but also we'll sometimes talk about governance and strategy with clients. And like I said, TA, and just to note that the TA that we offer is at no cost to our clients. It's underwritten by foundation money, so it's typically more delimited in scope, but it is an important way that we get to connect with folks in the sector. So we also offer, we have a strategic services program that you can kind of, if you're looking for, board related work to happen, strategic planning, those kinds of things, we have offerings. We have an accounting and finance team, and they also work with clients on various consulting projects based on what your needs may be. One thing that I'll highlight is a free accounting hotline. So if you have any questions that are related to accounting, QuickBooks, some of the scary stuff, and you just want an expert to weigh in on something, a quick question, you can feel free to give them a call, and they will be able to support you and help you out. And a couple of other things, we do have a fiscal sponsorship program. Here we get to work with newer, smaller organizations that are starting out. They're planning to become nonprofits, and really our goal is to set them up for success by the time they're ready to launch on their own. So 2 things on our website that I'll definitely recommend you check out is our trainings page. We have these free monthly webinars on a variety of topics. You can sign up for them, and if you're not able to attend at that particular time slot, we'll send you a recording of it. So that's just a good resource, for those of you in the room who are Lonas, and I see that if you're here, you're a Lona, then this might be something to kind of put on your calendar as well. And in addition, we also do, we also have capacity building opportunities that you can look at our website. We offer what's called leader circles, and this is a group peer coaching experience that's aimed to at groups, and they're the groups of executive directors, or then you have groups of managers. And if you're a person of color, we do special groups with BIPOC folks. So this is recommended. I mean, in my experience, I run a circle as well. And the feedback that I always got has been very positive, saying that just like running a nonprofit is a lonely experience, right? And so it can be really helpful to have a safe space to talk through the issues that you may be experiencing with others who are in similar situations. And so that's one thing I like to highlight. And then the other one is just the resource page on our website. We have a ton of free resources there. Some of them are super general one-on-one kind of things, and then others are more specific, like a template for financial policies if you're putting something like that together. So this is kind of like the broad sweep of all the things that we do at Propel. If you dig about, you'll find more things, but these are the big picture things that we do at Propel. So let's move on to the topic of the day, which is financial sustainability. And the fundraising aspect that Emily talked about is also really important when you think about your organization's financial sustainability. I really appreciated how you framed that discussion, Emily. And the thing that here that I'll focus on is more from the finance aspect of it and less from the fundraising aspect of it. So financial sustainability is quite a popular concept. It gets used quite a bit, right? There's this maybe a common myth or maybe a hope that nonprofits will be sustainable when they have permanent, guaranteed financial resources and capacity, right? And why is that a myth? Because such permanence and guarantees are luxuries offered by our imagination at best. And so while we do pray that your budget assumptions always come true, the fact is that even within a single fiscal year, plans don't exactly work out how you'd envisioned. And as Emily mentioned, we're in times right now where things are changing so rapidly under our feet. Funding sources or streams are kind of in flux. Our communities are going through a lot. And so a budget is a plan. And the only thing that you can really count on as a nonprofit is that change is something that you will be contending with. And in 2022, you don't need to be reminded of that, right? So how do you build an organizational culture and capacity to adapt to these changes as they come along? That's what we're really talking about. And how do you build a leadership, both at your staff and your board level, that is going to be future focused, that understands clearly the levers that impact the income and the expenses of your organization, and that have that orientation to the external landscape of that your organization is functioning within. And what is your overall strategy to help navigate these changes and be as nimble as possible, being able to make the necessary pivots that you need to make in a timely manner. So, so that's what we're talking about really when it comes to financial sustainability, and the three aspects that I like to highlight, and you can see how these are interconnected here, are understanding the impact or value your organization is having on the communities that you serve, right? And then understanding your business model or the financial engine that is helping power your mission, and then being really aware of the ways that you might need to adapt, both your programs and your business model in order to stay relevant and best serve the needs of your constituents. So hopefully you're following along at this point in time. I'm making sense. And as we move along here, I wanted to do a quick informal poll. And if you how many of you have discussed the concept of business models or talked about business models at all at your organization? It could be at your board level, it could be your staff, both and or. So if it's yes, thumbs up. If it's no, thumbs down. And if you're like, what the hell are you talking about? Then give me a heart. Okay, I see a couple of thumbs up, one heart. Great. So I think some of you have heard about this, which is wonderful, and others potentially are wondering what is a business model. And we get this quite often, right? When we think about nonprofits, more generally, we don't really think about it as a business, right? We don't think about a business model because nonprofits are not running businesses. At least that's the commonplace sort of understanding of things. So, all right, so having a sustainable business model, and I want to touch upon this. I feel like this concept of the business model really ties in with the concept of sustainability. And it requires a holistic approach that understands the interconnections between mission and money that I talked about, that is prepared to adapt to changes. And you're going to have predictable changes, and then you're going to have unpredictable changes. And so generally speaking, when our business models are working well, just give me one moment here. Yeah. So when our business models are working well, we're looking at the left side here of the spectrum. We don't really notice our business model, right? Because everything's going fine, you're making money, you're able to offer your programming, things are going well. And then you reach a point where you notice some changes. Maybe your funding that you've been counting on goes away, or maybe you want to start a new program. And then you realize your business model requires some refining. Moving along, now we're at a point where you feel like you maybe need to prepare for some changes. Maybe there is a leadership transition that's coming up, or there's a capital campaign that you want to undertake. And you're trying to figure out, what do you have to do to get there? And then finally, towards the right hand of that spectrum, what you're looking at is a point where you maybe realize that your business model isn't working anymore. Maybe it requires some serious attention. And so, you might have had, again, key funding sources have gone away. Maybe you've had too many years of deficits. You've maybe depleted your cash reserves. Maybe, you're not able to make payroll. We've all been there. This is really the economy within which nonprofits often have to work on. And so just to highlight that your business model is not something that you're going to be able to change overnight, but when you understand what it is, then you can figure out how to pull the different levers or make the necessary tweaks to your business model to facilitate changes that, again, in a timely manner. So this is our little graphic to break down what goes into the making of a business model. And you can see that there are 4 key components to your business model, and just to pay attention to each of these individually is going to be important, but also the way in which they relate to each other and allow for a more smooth functioning of your financial engine, that machine. And so I'm going to show you here really quickly. I'm going to show you a video that we have of that talks. So I'm not talking at you the whole time, I guess. Oops.
I was just going to mention this, if you can share the sound or remind.
Thank you.
Yeah. And
I
there happens. It just keeps
Totally.
us, reminds everybody we're human.
totally hear you. And there you go. Are you seeing the video page? Okay, cool.
What do you think of when you hear the words business model? Perhaps a plan or framework to help you generate more money? You're not far off the mark, but generating more revenue is not all there is to business models. A restaurant, a retailer, and a manufacturer are different business models. We have the same variety in the nonprofit sector. In order to develop an effective and appropriate business model for your nonprofit organization, you first need to understand that the financial structure of nonprofits consists of 4 core components: revenue mix, infrastructure, program costs, and capital structure. Together, these define the business model. Second, you should know that business models at nonprofit organizations are rarely fixed and unchanging. The structure and composition of revenue, expenses, and capital evolves over life stages and in response to external events and internal strategy. As a nonprofit leader, you must continually assess and prepare for the next iteration of your evolving business model. To do this, you need to understand the current operating model of your nonprofit. It is worthwhile to start with revenue. Nonprofits have a unique revenue mix. Do you know yours? Does it consist of foundation, corporate, or government grants, individual contributions, program service fees, membership fees, earned revenue? Next, let's look at infrastructure. What kind of technology infrastructure do you have? How do you manage human resources? Accounting? What does your board of directors look like? How are you structured to do the work you currently do and the work you aspire to do? There are 3 ways to look at infrastructure: the mandatory stuff, compliance, a board of directors, all the things you are required to have in place to operate as a nonprofit. Then there's the effectiveness of your infrastructure, your ability to build capacity, your staff, your communication infrastructure, etc. Last, you need to consider innovation in respect to infrastructure. How will you adapt your infrastructure to grow and meet new goals? Remember, different types of revenue require different infrastructure. For example, government funding requires a type of system to track and monitor how the funds are managed. Grant making has different requirements, and individual donor revenue requires relationship building. Now we're ready to talk about the cost of effective programs. How much does it cost to provide the services? The true cost of programs includes direct costs that are normally attributed to the program, plus allocations for common costs such as occupancy, technology, office expenses, and communications. Programs also require the services of human resources, accounting, and other centralized administrative functions. Finally, there's capital structure. What kind of assets does your nonprofit have to be effective? Do you have or need a building? How about cash reserves? Is your technology ancient? Do you have or need an endowment? At nonprofits, capital is often accumulated incrementally through fundraising, capital campaigns for buildings and endowments, and budget surpluses in the good years. The structure, restrictions, and cash requirements of your capital have a big impact on financial flexibility and cash flow. Once you have assessed your current operating model, you'll be in a better position to diagnose any critical weaknesses. With this knowledge, you'll also be able to forecast and plan a structure that will address the weaknesses and be effective in the future.
Well, hopefully that sort of, for those of you who are sort of wondering what is a business model, I see some really great comments in the chat box about, you know, various aspects of nonprofit finance and how do we put together a plan that is sustainable for our organization. And each nonprofit is going to be so unique in terms of the various revenue mixes. And I should just say this, you know, there's not enough time to kind of go into any great detail out here, but just really quickly to highlight that we offer a 1 hour kind of webinar version of this on this topic of financial, sorry, I'm really bad at multitasking, so I literally cannot walk and chew gum at the same time. Okay, I'm back. And so, you know, for those of you interested in diving a little bit deeper, I would really recommend that you tune into one of our webinars on this business model topic. And, you know, some of the things that Maria, you're talking about in the chat too, about how, you know, what are the different ways to approach, you know, the mix between contributed revenue and earned revenue. What is right for your nonprofit is going to be very different from one field to the other. And also to highlight that, you know, there's a weird relationship between nonprofits when you think about us as in relation to businesses. On the one hand, there's sometimes this idea that we're not as good as businesses. We're not as, you know, we're not doing the real thing, so to speak, and that businesses know how to do it better. And I always like to offer that actually nonprofits have, when you think about the business model aspect of it, $1 that you get from one source is not the same as another dollar you're going to get from another. So if you're trying to raise $1 from a foundation, it's very different than trying to raise $1 from selling a ticket to a theater production. And that's just such a complicated reality that most for-profits don't have to deal with. And often board members, et cetera, who come from a business world don't quite understand and appreciate the kind of nuances of what makes nonprofit finance so unique. And so just wanting to highlight that piece as well. And then I don't know how time goes by so quickly, but I'm going to try to just quickly take us through some of the pieces of this that we, again, don't have time to go into in much detail here, but so you can see program costs is another important aspect of the business model. And this is essentially where most of you will kind of relate with this idea that nonprofits experience this gap between how much a funder is willing to pay for a program and then how much it actually costs when you account for all the expenses, whether it's your general administrative expenses, your fundraising expenses. And so how do you fill that gap, right? You have to figure out what the gap is first. And the premise really is that programs need these administrative and fundraising parts to work, right? So that they should also pay for these expenses. And so doing that calculation, seeing once you run those numbers, are your programs, which of your programs are doing really well, which are the programs that are running a loss, being able to, it's fine if a program runs a loss as long as your overall business model works. And sometimes programs that are really important in our communities may run losses, and that's fine. So we talk about this again in a lot of detail. We have, you know, 1 hour webinar on this topic. We have a full 3-hour workshop on this topic. If you want to really roll up your sleeves and do that work, it really will help you get that picture of how financially healthy each of your programs are. And then this is, I just wanted to highlight this concept or this tool that we that some of you might be excited about. So again, this is looking at programs both from a financial sustainability question, but also the mission merit, right? How well are these programs hitting your mission? And then being able to be really strategic about making decisions about your programs from these two, after having done these calculations and mapped out your programs on this really nice grid. And there's a lot more detail that can be talked about, but that's where I'll leave it for now. And then this is one of the most, in my opinion, one of the most impactful tools that we recommend for nonprofits that are dealing with uncertainties, which is pretty much all of us at this point in time, and understanding that nonprofits are, the premise of this is that revenue, the pace at which revenue comes into your organization doesn't always match how revenue is going out, right? So understanding when in your fiscal year you're going to be high on cash, when your cash level is going to dip, this is going to give you a tool and a process to put down on a piece of paper or an Excel spreadsheet more accurately, all the things that you as nonprofit leaders hold in your head. And so we at Propel, we like to call it the executive director sleeps at night document. And more than a budget, I think that organizations benefit even more by having and maintaining an accurate cash flow projection. So we have resources on our website. If you go to our website, you'll find a cash flow template. We also offer trainings on that. Another thing that often gets sort of talked about is how do we build a reserve at nonprofits. As Emily mentioned, that sort of long-term sustainability piece for your organization becomes really, it becomes really important for you to think about building that cushion for years that might turn out in a different way that you anticipated. So making a good plan for an unrestricted surplus at the end of your fiscal year. And I know that in nonprofits, there is this sort of, I think, old lingering idea that we're not supposed to make a profit. And I always say to my nonprofit clients that nonprofit it's a tax designation. It is not a management style. It is not a financial philosophy. It is really about, and the profits that you make are not profits that are owned by individuals. It's profits that is owned by the community that your organization serves. And so really that if you are able to build these cash reserves, that's how you get to build the cushion for both tough things that might happen in the future, but also opportunities that might come up, right? Good things might, good opportunities might be presented to you. And if you don't have the kind of cash cushion, you might not be able to take them on. So we also have resources for folks. And I'll put some of this in the chat when I'm done here, but those of you who are trying to learn how to build cash reserves, we have some good resources about that. And then we also have a training that we do in scenario planning. This can be really helpful through these challenging times where you're basically trying to figure out a bunch of different scenarios. You're getting a sort of window into your nonprofit's financial condition at this point in time, and you develop a process for thinking about your a process for making more informed decisions and helps you find a way to kind of move forward. So just wrapping up here, this is all information you'll find on our website as well as the upcoming trainings. I just highlighted the financial ones, but we have other trainings on non-finance related topics, governance strategy, as I mentioned. So something to look into if it suits your schedule. And then the last thing I just wanted to say is, financial leadership is really, it's a journey, right? I like to make the connection with language acquisition. We're talking about English and how it's a hard language to learn if it's not your first language. And I think finance is tough too, because you have to learn all the different vocabulary, you have to keep practicing, you have to be afraid, you have to not be afraid to make mistakes. And so really part of this is building your confidence, and also your competence. And then we also just, at least this is the Propel philosophy, is how do you foster a culture of curiosity, of purpose, of engagement with your team so that you're not creating a silo within which financial discussions are happening, but it's something that the whole team staff and board can take ownership of. So I've said a lot of things, and I would love to hear if there are any questions or comments.
Yeah, it's been so great, Koa. And yeah, folks, if you have questions, feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself and uplift them or toss them in the chat. I know, the lunch and learns are built, the time flies, but we're really just trying to highlight, such a great resource and tool. And, just hearing more about all of your different webinars and trainings that you offer, I think are so beneficial for us to be able to share out with our networks and to even lean into ourselves. I know I could have had you really talk about the mission money matrix. That seemed really intriguing to me. And hopefully we spark some seeds of curiosity for folks to maybe not be so afraid to talk about finances. Rather, I love that everything you say is come from a place of fun and, how can you engage? So I really appreciate it. And I hope folks lean into some of these different opportunities as well. Oh, perfect.
Yeah, thank you, Emily. And I'm seeing some of your comments in the chat. Really, that's really great. So yeah, if you want to learn more about the mission money matrix, especially the mission aspect of like, how do you map out the mission merit? It's not just your gut feeling. I mean, all of us have a gut feeling about our programs, but we also, sometimes it's like a little bit more in depth. It's not like a full-on evaluation process, but it helps you to map these two things out and to see which of your programs are, maybe it's hitting mission and not so much money or whatever it is, just understanding programs and really, I mean, one thing that it's connected to, and maybe some of you experience that, is just like taking away a competitive edge that sometimes nonprofits will have between programs, right? Like my program's making a surplus, yours isn't, kind of thing. And really I like to, think about just shifting that lens a little bit and thinking about it as how are we, creating the big picture offering that we're making. Our contribution as a nonprofit can sometimes require for some programs to make money and other programs to take a financial hit, but offer something really valuable. So that's a really good tool. I'm trying to think what other tools I can share with you.
Yeah, and I think, as you said too, talking about finances part of really every conversation that you're having with your team, not just leaning into your finance committee to inform you, rather be part of the conversation. I mean, that was one of the takeaways I'm, gathering even for our programs on the call, that leaning into it, asking questions and making it a part of the culture within your organization, so that, I think that helps to highlight the need for transparency as well. And so that, you're a part of it and can bring in maybe different ideas or expertise that you weren't even aware that you had. Like, I think it's just good to make it part of everyday conversation.
Totally. And, leaders, I think, Maria, you did a shout out for leaders groups, can be really helpful. We also have a financial leadership cohort for those of you who are, financial leaders at your organization. It's something, again, like the Leader Circle, I would highly recommend. It's a 6-month sort of meeting once a month with a group of other financial leaders, and really kind of, it's sort of building this whole concept of what does it mean to be a future-focused financial leader, and how do you get folks at your staff and your board to be really excited about finance? Because, for most of us, I mean, myself included, if you told me to, crunch numbers at a bank somewhere and make loans there, I'm not going to be interested. I mean, the reason this is interesting for me is because I get to work with nonprofits that are doing this really important kind of social change and social justice kind of work. And so, again, that really the deep connection between mission and money. So I'll stop here, but yeah.
No, this is great. And I'm happy to stay on I know we'll probably go over, and I'm not even going to share my screen again. We do have a survey. So if folks want to provide us some feedback, we always appreciate it. I popped it in the chat, and I'll share out all of the resources that COA has graciously provided us today in a wraparound email. I'll package it as nicely as I can for everybody so that you can have it right at your hands to take with you. And again, just encouraging all of you to connect with Propel Nonprofits and lean into some of the opportunities and different cohorts and trainings that they provide. If at any point you have questions, you can always reach out to myself, Sarah, Allie, anyone on our team. I know I shared COA's email, and I'll share that as well in the wraparound. And there you go. We make a good team, because both of us maybe have a harder time multitasking, but I appreciate, it takes all kinds in the world. But I'm glad that we're in good company. But if folks have any other questions, or if you're curious about technical assistance or other things that we have going on, please reach out to us. And again, just appreciate you spending your lunchtime with us. And I'm happy to stay on if folks have questions.
Yeah, I can stay on for a few minutes too, and I just wanted to say that I know that sometimes I can be a little bit hard to reach, but please do reach out if there's anything that comes up for you at your organization. I'm always happy to field any questions, connect you with other resources. I always like to say, if I don't know the answer to your question, I know somebody who will, so I'll be able to connect you that way. And or if you just need somebody, like to be a sounding board or talk through something that's happening, please do reach out and we can set up some time. So thank you all so much.
Yeah. And I meant that in the best possible way, that you're tricky, because again, you are on the ground providing true, genuine support and resources for folks. I was just happy I could buckle you down for a date to just share and highlight some of the work that you all are doing. But yeah, you're highly responsive, and again, so engaging, and a treat to really connect with. So we appreciate you very much.
Thank you, Emily. I mean, I'm just being honest and upfront myself. Like, yes, sometimes there will be a lag between when you reach out to me and when I get back to you, but you will be on my agenda and I will get back to you. And if it's anything urgent, I always tell people, just like, say it's urgent, please, react ASAP, and that will be really helpful for me.
Yeah. And a full inbox is a good inbox, right? I tell folks, go ahead and fill it up, because then I feel like I'm, doing my job. If it's, if there's a lot coming in there, so please reach out. Yeah.